Let's talk as well to Nick Freeman, lawyer and road safety campaigner, because guess what? It turns out that e-scooter injuries have gone up massively. Now, Nick and I have both been campaigning separately and sometimes together for some kind of set of rules around these electronic vehicles, but we still don't have any. Nick, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
So, this, I suppose, both of us could have predicted. There's finally some statistics to back up what we've been warning about. Tell us what's going on.
Well, as you rightly say, we're not at all surprised. We did predict. The figures are shocking. Basically, a fourfold increase over the last 12 months in terms of accidents. I mean, 9 people killed, over 1,000 people injured, 305 seriously injured. And you've got that really is the tip of the iceberg, because I'm quite confident that most of the injuries are not actually being reported to the police, because what's the point? Unless you detain someone at the roadside, they're never going to be caught. So it's problems that we've highlighted before, and the government needs to get a grip of this, because there are something like 750,000 illegal scooters, private scooters on our roads at the moment, and they're about to be unleashed with the support of law by the government, because they can't really prevent it, so they might as well go with it and try and use the law to enforce it. So, as you and I have discussed previously, what needs to happen first and foremost is that there must be some form of identification for an e-scooter rider. So at least there is a semblance of responsibility for what they do. Because one of the big problems, of course, is pedestrians riding on the pavements. How are we going to stop that?
Yeah.
We're only going to stop that if we know who's doing it and if we can punish the culprits. So without that we're not going to move forward. And I think the government are giving that serious consideration now.
Yeah.
Another problem, of course, the government have said, well, we express our deepest sympathies for all those concerned, and we're really concerned with increasing safety. And at the same time, this government has, by a statutory instrument, removed the mandatory safeguard of wearing a helmet. I just don't understand where they're coming from. Surely the right approach is these e-scooters must have helmets. They're categorised, or they were before the statutory instrument, as mopeds. They must have helmets, and we need to go back to that situation. It can't be a guideline. There has to be a mandatory requirement.
Yes.
I think the law's in place. We've said many times before, the law is in place. There does need to be new specific legislation. For example, with identification, if we said, if you e-scooter on a pavement, there will be 6 penalty points on your licence, coupled with a significant fine, I think that would act as a deterrent. Because the real problem is, well, who's going to police all this? And that's the same with our roads. Are we going to start having cameras on our pavements? That may be a possibility. Because when we start talking about the real figures that are involved, it's a huge problem. And we're never going to catch the culprits without some form of computer system.
Yeah.
Because the police aren't there, are they? They've got other fish to fry apart from Partygate.
Well, that's what they tell us, but they also tell us that they're going to up the number of speeding fines that they hand out. They're also saying that if you are seen by a camera using your phone while in the car, then there will be 3 points immediately added to your licence and you will be fined. Well, that's fine, but why can't they use those cameras for catching these people?
Well, because they don't know who's on them.
I know, but what I'm saying is if there was a system that was driving that and then you could recognise them and you could have them registered, then we'd be in better shape.
And that's what we've said. There needs to be identification. First and foremost, that's the starting point. And then the law that is in existence will kick in. And it will help because, as I've said, you take number plates off cars, how most people are going to drive. They're going to drive with gay-free abandon. It's like the Wild West out there with these scooters because they can e-scoot with impunity. They know they're never going to be held to account unless somebody physically detains them at the roadside. And of course, what these statistics don't tell us is how many of these incidents, e-scooters, are being used in the commission of crime.
Well,
thousands and thousands. And no one's discussing that at the moment. And of course, that's a problem. The Met, what are they saying about it? What are they doing about it? We did call for, and there was a response for, the destruction, the confiscation of these e-scooters, the privately owned ones. That needs to happen. We need to have that on a regular basis, and then people will think, actually, this is a lot of money to throw away. Crime might not pay under these specific circumstances.
No, exactly right. Because, I was driving around quite a lot yesterday around South London and this morning coming into work as well. It's literally like a cross between Mad Max and Back to the Future out there on the roads. I saw a guy this morning on one of those electric skateboards, which is sort of a plank of wood with a round ball underneath and some lights flashing, and he's going along about 30 miles miles an hour, not wearing any protection at all.
Yep.
I saw a guy on a moped, right? This one will get you. First time I've ever seen this. Guy on a moped, wearing a helmet, had a backpack on, but inside the backpack was a dog. And the dog was literally sort of waving its head around out behind him, which can't be safe for the dog apart from anything else. And then meanwhile, you've got these guys on unicycles. You've got about 55 different forms of electric vehicles, all of which unlicensed. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Correct. I think, look, the priority of this government is prioritising the green agenda. It needs to do so with balance. There needs to be a collaborative approach. They need to be sincere when they say they want to make our roads safe. It cannot be at all costs. We can't just unfold all these so-called environmentally friendly means of transport without having the right legislation in place. And at the moment, they're not leading by example. They're not doing so, and they need to get a grip. Otherwise, they've got blood on their hands, haven't they?
They really have. And I mean, could it be something that starts in one city of this country? Could it be a local law that was brought in, or would it be something that would have to be national?
It needs to be national. It needs to be DVLA based. We need a proper system, as we have for drivers. Exactly the same system. The law, the Road Traffic Act, governs e-scooters, but it's redundant because we don't know who's driving. So let's just have exactly the same system, coupled with specific extra provisions to deal with pavements, because most cars don't drive on pavements. That's a huge problem for all sorts of people. We need to make the existing law count, and there's only one way of doing that. I don't know why you and I need to keep repeating this, because it's so obvious. And this government keep telling us they're concerned about making it safer. They're not. If they are, do it. Simple.
Yeah, absolutely right. Nick, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Nick Freeman, lawyer and road safety campaigner. Apollo.